Welcome back to the 2 Months Podcast presented by CDN. I'm your host, Joshua Marshall. We have a very special guest. He's back for his fifth visit. He's played 877 regular season games in the NHL. You can find him selling houses in Dallas, Texas, in the area for the Cheney Group. We like to welcome back to the 2 Months Podcast, Vernon Fiddler. Fids, how's it going?
Good, brother. Thanks for having me again.
No, thanks for coming back on, man. It's you are the highest rated interview every time we get you on. So you always get the most amount of plays. So everyone wants to know what Fids has to do and Fids has to say. So it's good. It always brings some good content. But I guess, how are things with you? I know life's busy and you're with the Cheney Group now, and then you got the kids and their activities too. But how are things going in your household?
Great. A couple life changes. I've started a new career in real estate, which has kept me really busy and motivated. I got a really good opportunity with the Cheney Group. Mayor Jeff, who's the broker, brought me on to help him sell. We're actually selling all the property on the championship golf course here at the PGA headquarters in Frisco, Texas. So nice. It was an eventful summer and busy summer, and along with that, selling residential and doing a little commercial here and there. So I'm learning a lot with the business, and just like anything, I'm super competitive. So I want to be at the top and work my butt off and, have a new challenge in my life, and something that I've really enjoyed, for something I've always had a passion with. My mom was a real estate agent. My grandma was a real estate agent. So it comes it comes in the family, and I want to carry the tradition on. I know my grandma would be super proud of me.
Yeah.
She was always a top agent in Edmonton, and same with my mom. She's always a top producer with Remax in Edmonton. So just trying to carry the family legacy on in a different aspect rather than playing hockey.
Yeah, no, I think I saw something on your Instagram was saying you were doing pretty good too. You were like obviously number one in sales. I was actually, when I was at the John Reed, our sponsor there, CDM Marcoux there, he kind of goes, he's like, Fid's got to leave some for the rest, eh? He's just kind of got going here. So, but again, it ties into what you said. You're competitive, and it comes to the nature of that aspect too. So that's been pretty good. How are the kids doing? I know they're busy in their activities too, but how are they doing? And
yeah, Bella, my daughter, she's a dancer, so they've been super busy with dance conventions and competitions, and it's no different than hockey with my son. There's always getting better, and putting in the time and effort to become the best dancer you could possibly be, and that's something that in the Fiddler house, we always try to pass on to our kids, is what doesn't matter what you do. It's always full throttle, and we just don't want them to be average. We want them to be at top of their game, and whatever they need to help them out with that, we push them. So Bella's doing great with her dance, and just had a competition in Dallas here last weekend, and got a VIP award, which we were super proud of her with.
Awesome.
And then with my son Blake, we've been busy playing. We've almost played 60 games so far this year, traveling. Obviously, we can't play a whole bunch of home games, so we're traveling twice a month and hosting one tournament a weekend. So with that, we're super busy, and with coaching, I have to put a little bit more time and effort with that. I'm not much of a dancer, so I can't help Bella out with that. But
yeah. But you and Quincy had a good little tilt. So.
Well, I can two-step, Oscar, but I can't do much other than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I do a little bit of that, but with the hockey, that really takes my mind away from work, and it gives me some sort of relaxation. Although these games are getting pretty competitive, and we've got I think we're number 12th in the country in the U.S. here for our team, which is the highest our U16 program's ever been at.
Yeah.
So we're super excited about the team, and always something to get help the team with. And I work with the forwards and the centermen, and stay away from Blake. I try to let the other coaches deal with him, so I can just be his dad and his buddy. And but everything's going great. We're all healthy. We're all got a game plan for our kids, and we just try to push them and help them as much as we can.
Yeah, that's awesome. Perfectly said. I know, like, last time we kind of had you on, I see you guys were moving from Kelowna back to Dallas, but can you talk about, like, I want to go down a little bit of a minor hockey conversation here with you. Can you talk about, like, the minor hockey compared to what it was in Canada, Kelowna, and all that, even when you played, to where Blake is now in the States, and the comparison level and what's good, and what are you taking out of it? Because obviously he's playing a lot of games, which is really good too.
Yeah, it's super comparable. It's a way different brand of hockey in the U.S. compared to Canada. Like I find in Canada, it's a much more, when we play and watch Canadian teams, it's a way different game. But the brand of hockey down here is a much more skilled game. There's a little bit more puck possession. There's a lot of high end skill. Like the private lessons down here are very popular. So these kids are getting a lot of skills instruction. So there's not many kids that are just like I was, or just square blade and the puck was square, just dump and chase it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of skill level, which is really intriguing in my opinion, just for the fact that there's not even a guy on our team that you usually be like you call a kid stone hands. Everybody can handle the puck. Everybody can skate. So it's been really enjoyable watching our team this year grow, and every player. We were talking about it on the way back from New York this weekend, about there isn't one player on our roster that hasn't improved. And I think the one thing in Canada, these academies have really taken over in the minor hockey, which is great because, well, it's good and bad, but the good thing about it is these kids are learning something every day, and they're working at different skills and pushing the envelope on what they can do and what they can't do, which most kids always think, well, I can't do that. But if you work at it long enough, you're able to do it.
Yeah.
And one thing I really respect about the USA Hockey program is they develop different skill sets. So not just one or two kids have them on your team, but everybody has them. And we try to find roles for every kid on the team, but there isn't a kid on our team that can't play a power play. So we try to utilize that in our games, and give everybody an opportunity. We have 3 power play lines that roll through. So the motto down here is that let's use everybody. Let's train everybody the same. Let's have everybody have puck possession skills, skating skills, things like that. You're not just a grinder moving around, because at the end of the day, you can teach most kids how to be physical and compete and do that kind of things, but it's the skill level that some kids just get thrown kind of into a bracket where, well, they just can't do that. But if you work long enough and hard enough with them, they all can develop skills and be better at something. They may not be the best, but they do get better at things. So with the motto down here, with the skill sessions and ADM sessions where they do different stations on the ice. Like we always break down and do splits with forwards and D-man and work at different things. I think that's something that has really helped our boys out this year, and that's definitely the golden ticket for the USA Hockey, is they always want you working at a skill development that you're going to use in the game. But to go back, I know I rambled a bit there, but to go back, I mean, there is some different comparisons. It's not full on academies down here. We have club hockey where these kids do off ice skills at other academies, and then they come to us. They're not at the academy all day with the same team and everything. So that's probably the biggest difference. But both have their positives and negatives, and it's been a pretty seamless transition back to the U.S. For us, just because we know the area. We moved to another familiar place where we had lived before. So we've all, both kids are excelling at their sports, and we're pushing them in the right ways, and that's all you can ask as parents, that your kids are good kids. They're polite and they know how to work and have a good work ethic, and that's something that we focus on in our house and under our roof.
Yeah, no, that's very well said. I was wondering if there's any advice, because I think you touched on something pretty cool there. You give everyone the opportunity to kind of learn, and I just kind of came across this past weekend. Is this family I'm close with at church? Their kid is 13 years old. He's playing Sierra here in Edmonton, Tier 2, but he got affiliated with another program here for AA. But I'm seeing this a lot happening, where these affiliates get called up and they play like the first 2 periods, but then they sit the whole 3rd period. Is there any advice you can give to those kids, parents, coaches, any along those lines of how to make the best of that situation, Vern?
Yeah, and I think that's great that they're getting an opportunity to push their envelope and play at a higher level, because maybe they've taken a step in that year and now they're ready for a little bit of double A hockey. And if they're coming from single A going to double A or double A to triple A, um, every extra opportunity you get, just take advantage of it. Whether it's 2 periods, 1 period, if it's 3 periods, great. But every time, I mean, it's just like when you get called up to the NHL, the first game is kind of a write-off. Then the second one, you feel a little bit more comfortable and you get a little bit more opportunity with the coach earning your trust. And then by the third game, it's like, oh, well, this guy can do this, he can do that. So it's just like having a good attitude. Don't be, bitching and complaining about, well, I didn't play in the third period. Well, you just played 2 periods. So
Yeah.
take the positive out of it and hope you get another opportunity to move up and then make the best of it when you get that opportunity, because the experience you're gaining is pushing your envelope. You've challenged yourself and accepted it, and now maybe you get another opportunity because you had a super good attitude and you didn't bitch and complain about it, rather than someone that bitched and complained about it. Why would they bring him back up? Because they know if he doesn't play in the third again, they're going to have to deal with drama, and no coach wants to deal with any
No.
extra bullshit. They got enough on their plate. So I would just tell them that, smile, attitude. Don't put a target on your back. Just be very grateful. Thank the coach for the opportunity. Take the positives. Watch what you did good, and then when you get called up again, do the same thing. Take what the coach told you and roll with it and excel at that, and then
Yeah.
hope you get to play in the third period the next time. So it's all about attitude and taking the
Yeah.
positives out of everything.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Definitely agree. All right, we'll transition over to some NHL stuff here. Good friend of yours, former teammate. He's going to play in game 1000 as we record this. That's going to happen later tonight. And when this is out, that game will already happen. But the career that Jamie Benn has, the captain, the leader, the person. Can you talk about him and what an accomplishment he's going to have tonight?
Yeah, it gives me goosebumps to even talk about it. I'm heading down to the game right after I get off the Zoom with you. It's a special moment for me because I was an older guy when I was around Jamie. He was, played against him a couple years before I signed with Dallas, and I always, because he was a Kelowna Rocket and we're both alumni, I always kind of kept my eye on him on the ice and chirp him on the ice and chit chat with him a little bit about Bruce Hamilton and one of our dear friends there, the owner and president of the Rockets. But then I had the opportunity in 2011 to come here to Dallas, and he was just a young gun, brilliant player, really smart, high hockey IQ, amazing compete level, amazing skill level. And you look at a guy like him, where he's a captain of an NHL team. He's won an Olympic gold medal. He's been to the Memorial Cup. I don't think they won it, but I think they were in the final. A guy that was drafted in the 5th round that no one really thought that this kid would be a first rounder that's plays 1,000 games in the NHL, wins an Art Ross. So it just gives a lot of clarity of what Jamie is all about. He's not a guy that wants to be recognized all the time. He's just a guy that doesn't say a whole bunch in the dressing room, but he leads by example on the ice and just goes about his business. A lot of people had wrote him off, that having a couple bad years there, but he's having another big year. He's back to his normal self with dominating the ice and being a great power forward and leading this Dallas Stars team to the top of the Central Division, which is awesome to see, and it's been awesome to follow them this year. So I'm super excited to go down and have a little chat with him before the game and just congratulate him and thank him for being a good friend and teammate. And it was always a pleasure to play with him because, he was the first guy to give everyone else recognition when, he had the biggest game of the year, or he had scored a big goal for, our team in the playoffs or whatever it may be. He was always the first guy that if he got a question asked about himself, he was the first guy to turn it back to the team and talk about our team, which is something that you always respect out of a guy that could just take it all on himself, and just not the kind of guy Jamie is. Comes from a great family, and obviously his brother's an NHLer too. So
Yeah.
just comes from a great family and very grounded, and just loves his friends and just a super loyal guy.
Yeah, no, he's from everything you hear, obviously what you just said speaks volumes of him. What's your thoughts on the Stars season? Obviously, you just talked about their first place there. they've had a great year. Pete DeBoer comes in, another great established coach, and nothing to take away from what Bonus was able to do with this team too, but just kind of adding a little bit more. And, the great team they have from top all the way down to the goaltending.
Yeah, I think it's been a super positive year. Coming off of the year before, where I think one thing Rick Bowness he left here when they decided to move on from coaches was he left a really good identity here of a defensive hockey, which the Stars have struggled with in the past, and Rick Bowness should have a lot of credit towards him of creating that identity here of being a hard team to play against. Being a really strong defensive team that can win you games in the playoffs. And we saw that last year with going, for the first round and then going to 7 games with Calgary. They've done a really good job bringing up these draft picks and these young kids that are now our best players. You look at, Rupe Hintz and Jason Robertson and, Johnson and all these young guys that have kind of taken on, that next generation and taken the heat off of Jamie and Tyler and kind of gave them, taking the pressure off of those guys. And those guys have now really stepped up their game because, these young guys have kind of carried the load a bit. And now it's given Jamie and Tyler a little bit more, space to not have so much pressure. And, with Rick Bowness's identity setting here with the defensive play, they, Peter's come in and tweaked a few things so that they're a little bit more offensive and possess the puck a lot more. And, they stretch a guy out the zone and push the pace a little bit more, which leads to more possession time. And, you can really see it in the games where last year we'd get outshot, we'd win games, but we'd get outshot a little bit. So we were leaning towards the defense side a little bit too much. And I think with Peter coming in, he's kind of found that happy medium. And these younger players having career years and, Jason Robertson stepping up and, Ottinger, which is, top tier goalie already. I think he'll be a Hall of Famer. This is how good this kid is. I've watched him in warm up. He doesn't let a goal in all of warm up.
Yeah.
That kind of caliber, almost like an Eddie Belfour. But, with Peter coming in, he's kind of got a little bit more offensive drive for the team. And, they find themselves, scoring a lot more goals and being in games where they're not chasing games rather than sitting back and hoping for a tie and things like that. And then anything they give up, they got Ottinger back there cleaning it up. So, they got a good, they've set themselves up very good for the second half of the year after the All-Star game here now. And it's going to be super fun to watch them down the stretch here and then into the playoffs with hopefully a long playoff run.
Yeah, exactly. A good team to watch. So one more on the Stars, and when I was at the Hyven Holinka Gretzky Cup and in the World Juniors in Red Deer and Edmonton this summer, I got to meet Rich Peverly for the first time. It's a good friend, a good teammate of yours. But I remember walking kind of down the hallway after I said something to him, and one of the general managers that was there kind of just tapped me and he goes, "That guy grinds. That guy knows hockey, and he is moving up in the ladder of the execs here." And I know one of the big players he was able to scout was Wyatt Johnson, but can you speak to, the hockey knowledge that Rich Peverly has and the person he is too, Fids?
Yeah, outstanding person, like one of the best guys. I had a chance to play with Pevs in Nashville before he came to Dallas here, and just talk about a guy that's grinded it out, and that's the kind of executives you want that are willing to put the work in. And Pevs was in his playing career one of those guys that started in the East Coast. He was actually filled my spot when I got called up, and they brought him in from the coast. So it's kind of funny how it all worked. But I was a full-time NHLer, and then he worked his way up from the East Coast into the minors up to Nashville, and then won a Stanley Cup in Boston. But just a quality guy, quality family guy, and just it is what he is. He just works his butt off, and it doesn't surprise me that he's going to be a GM in the NHL one day. I know for sure. I got to have a chat with him over training camp, and just his knowledge and what he sees in players, and especially when a guy that's been through it, they know what it takes. So when a guy like that goes and cherry picks a guy like Johnson out of the draft, and he ends up on our roster as a 19-year-old making a huge impact. I think he's up to 11 goals now.
Yeah.
I mean, for a young kid to come in and make such an impact, not only an impact, but he's rejuvenated Jamie's career. Like, I know Jamie's probably got him under his wing. I know he's living with Pavelski, and to have these young guys around, it really ignites the older guys, because it's refreshing to see how excited these guys are to get on the planes and go into fancy hotels and go on every rink, and they're looking around. That can really, light a fire under some of the older guys, because you forget when you're in it, for 15 years plus, that, the rinks, I've seen this rink 20 times, or, but when you see these young guys come in and how excited they are, or see the, private planes and all that, it does give you a little bit of spark. And I think he's not only on the ice, he's been a huge impact. I think he's been a big impact as a young guy off the ice, because these older guys are excited, and I know the organization's super excited about him moving forward to fill that, second line role for years to come.
Yeah, very well said. We'll move over to the Oilers here. A few more just before we let you go. But what's your thoughts of what you have seen of the Oilers season to date? And, it's always a polarizing, as we sit here and laugh, it's always a polarizing topic at times, because, they should be better than what they are. But thoughts on what you've seen of the Oilers this year, Fids?
Yeah, I to be honest, Bosco, I haven't watched them a whole bunch, just because we're an hour ahead and their games are starting a little bit late. So I don't want to say too much bad about them, because I got to come up there and live next year.
Yeah, I know.
But I think they're caught in a little bit of in the middle. Like, they're, I sometimes I wonder what kind of team they are. Are they like I think they can find a little bit more game, like a more defensive game. I know the Skinners come in and kind of solidified that number one role, so I think that was a bit of a distraction off the start of the season. I know they've had, a couple injuries. Losing a guy like Kane, he plays hard. He goes to the hard areas. He can get those big goals to keep you in games, so you're not chasing games. I know they missed him, but when you have that much talent and you have two of the top players in the NHL offensively, I think, they're going to find their way, and I hope to see them down the stretch here pick it up a little bit and have a good push in the playoffs, so we can come up and watch some games.
Yeah, no, it'd be good for sure. Because I always wonder this, like, as a player, like, you played the game, but like when I look at Connor McDavid's stats, I see 92 points, but I see a +4. Is that something I should not read into? Could I read into that? Like,
No, it'd be crazy not to look into it. I mean,
yeah.
it is what it is. And that's something.
And I'm just saying it's him. There's other guys to that too.
Right. And it's, yeah. I mean, he's an offensive player. He's doing his role.
Yeah.
He's filling his role. Like, they ask him to score, they ask him to produce. That's one thing I think Oilers got to figure out is, okay, you can win games with one goal.
Mm-hmm.
You can win games with 2 goals. You shouldn't always have to win a game with 5 or 6 goals. So you're going to really have to tighten it up defensively. And down in the second half, it's just public knowledge that it's harder to score in the second half of the year. So that's the time where teams start to tighten up and really start to focus down the stretch of being good defensive teams playing playoff hockey, in this third and fourth quarters of the season. So, I think, I don't know all the stats, but that just seems to be the Oilers' mystery, is why they can't defend a little bit better. And sometimes it's the top players have to give up a little bit of offense to do that. So they just got to find a way, I think, to keep the puck out of their net a little bit more, and find ways to just win games with a little less dramatic.
Yeah, where you're not getting blown out, and then you got to fight back, and chasing the game's always tiring for sure. Sidney Crosby at the All-Star game, Fids, he talked about he liked to see the playoff format go back to 1-8, 2-7, kind of that format. Just a quick thought on that. One of the best players in the game's kind of speaking up. But would you like to see something like that get back to that format, or are you happy with where things are at now?
No, I would like to see that too, just because, there's something to be said about the teams that put in a good regular season and then that get screwed the first round of playoffs, having to play a team that's, not that far away from them in the standings. I would like to see that. I'd like to see that for a couple different reasons. I think you'd see different teams playing different teams rather than always playing the same team. And I think, I think those teams that have grinded it out and put in all that work all year deserve that. And they deserve to have the home ice. If they've been the number one seed all year, they deserve to have that recognition of playing, the lower seed, whoever comes at them, and have a better chance at getting to the finals and getting to the dance. So I agree with Crosby. I think that it should get back to that, and I think we could see, potentially some different playoff matchups rather than seeing the same ones and seeing the same teams disappointed.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we'll finish up on this one. CDN, they're a sponsor of ours. You're good friends with those guys up in Kelowna there. Can you talk about kind of what they do and the relationship that you guys were able to build? And I know they're supposed to send me some modeling pictures. I guess you guys took at some point here, but but talk about CDN if you can, Fids.
Yeah, well, Marco reached out to my wife. He knew better to reach out to me, because he's like, if it's modeling or putting on makeup or anything like that, like that's just, I'm not doing like professional photography. And he reached out to my wife, and she caught me at a, I guess a week time. And she said, hey, Marco's reached out to me about doing a Hockey Night in Canada, photo shoot up at, I think it was Shoot Lake or something like that. And, I said, oh, whatever, it's a day off. We'll go up there and try it out. And it was actually really cool. Marco did a great job. Him and his wife did a great job. We got all Hockey Night in Canada gear, and just did a bunch of shooting with my son, Blake, and, just skating around in the outdoor rink. My daughter was out there too. So we were all skating and did a little photo shoot with them. And, Marco's done a great job. Talk about a guy that just works his butt off and, minds his own business and produces a great product. It's something that we all wear at home. I still have all my CDN sweaters and hats and stuff that we wear around. That even in Texas, down here in Texas, people are asking, hey, where'd you get that? So our Canadian friends, I always tell them to go to the website and check it out. But great quality stuff. And, you're starting to see all their hats and that on all the Canadian teams. And it's pretty cool.
No, it is for sure. Fids, again, huge thanks.
I got time too if you got more stuff. I got a little bit of
time. Okay. I just didn't know if you have. No. So I guess in your thoughts, like what's your thoughts of like what the NHL season's been to date? Like I'm big on like the physical side and the toughness, and we're kind of seeing a less and less and less of that. But I think it's important when you go into the playoffs. I know a lot of fighting doesn't happen in the playoffs, but I still think there's some lack of it here and there. And Jamie Benn's probably the best power forward in the game, where he puts up the points, and like the fact that he wears no visor and all that stuff. But your thoughts on like the toughness side of things right now in the game?
Yeah, it does concern me. I when I was first coming in the league, like it was something that that's why everybody came to watch. People weren't coming for scoring, and I get that there's a huge shift in the skill level that came into the NHL. And but I mean, down here, even in the South where we live, like when there's a goal, like people like it, they love it, but they don't or they like it. I should say they don't but when there's a fight, like everyone stands up and everyone's like cheering or a big hit and then a fight. Like it's like you can just see the stadium, just everyone stand up and the energy is elevated. Like there's nothing like there used to be off the opening face off, a good fight, and not only that, to put the press on the situation of a lot of these guys taking liberties on star players. I think it's obviously a dying breed with these enforcers going away, but I wish they'd even have one roster spot like a DH where you have an enforcer. If something's to go down shit creek in a game where you can use these guys and the fans want to see it, and it also sends a message to the other team that you can't hit this guy or you can't hit that guy. But I watch some of these games and the liberties that are taken on these star players. I mean, there's not a whole bunch of guys. Usually when that happens, everyone's looking for quarters on the ice. No one wants to step up. But it also comes along with, it seems like everybody's just friends. I watch games and there's guys on teams smiling and laughing. I've talked to you guys about this with Scotty Upshaw.
Yeah.
In warm up, he's trying to talk about how his life and that, and I was already going at him fuck you, I'm gonna kill you tonight. You watch your back. You know, he's in between the dressing rooms, in between the warm up and the game, trying to find out with the trainers what he had done to me, and is he okay? But like that was my job. That was food on my plate that I didn't want him taking off. And we could have a chat after the game and laugh it off, but you don't see that. Like I see guys all the time laughing and joking at face-offs and all this stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, we would do that, but at the same time, like didn't matter who it was. If it was your best friend or your worst enemy, you treated them the same way. So I would like to see a little bit more physical play, but they really have they are protecting the players a little bit more with headshots and stuff like that. But I mean, I think there still should be some rough and tussle. I know the fans sure miss it, because I go to the games and I'm walking around the concourse, and the people will tell me, "Oh, we miss you when you'd stir shit up. You'd ignite a building on a Tuesday night, and it wakes your team up. It wakes, fans enjoy it. It protects your players, and I agree with you. I would like to see a little bit more of it."
Yeah, it would be awesome. It doesn't happen enough. There's only a very, very few of them. The Luciches and, the McDermotts, and, Jamie Benn's kind of probably in a different category because the numbers he puts up, and it's not no slight to the other guys, but, there's the Tom Wilsons too. But I just would like to see it for sure. It doesn't, I love that part of the game. And, and when we had Doug Gilmore on too, like, he was just on with us, and he kind of talked about, the lack of that nowadays, where it wasn't so much like that now. But yeah, hopefully going forward for sure, there's a bit of a change, but it's going to be tough to see if the league will do anything on that front. But are you, we've talked about this with other guys we had on, but what's your thoughts on like these Michigans and the skill level kind of guys in ways too? Because, even Chris Pronger, like on some of the podcasts he's been on, like it's like that stuff wouldn't happen. But I don't know if I think it's okay for the game, but are you, where you at on that stuff?
No, I don't mind it. I mean, if you can do it, try it. But I mean, like even Canada's first game in the World Juniors, like how many times do you have to try that? Like everyone knows the games are on TSN. Like I think someone said they had 7 attempts at the Michigan.
Do you think there was a bet made on like who does it first, and then after they lost, they're probably like,
well, with all this social media and stuff, like everyone wants, they want to be, they want the views and all this, and that's kind of a way to get to it, right?
Yeah.
So, I think there's a fine line between embarrassing a team. Like if the game's 7-1 and you're doing it, I think there's something should be done to the guy, and there shouldn't be, it's almost like celebrating after a goal. Like, why do that in showboat? But if it's a 1-1 game and you can do it, and that's the game-winning goal, like I'm all for it. But there's a time and place for it always. And these young kids have skill level. Like I said on our 16U team.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one guy that can't do that. Like with practice, I couldn't even flip the puck on my stick
to give it to the linesman.
I played 15 years in the NHL. Yeah. I had to take my glove off and reach down to the ice to give the puck to the linesman.
Yeah.
Now these kids can backhand, twist it up. And, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is for sure. Last one, we'll finish up on this. The Super Bowl's this weekend, Fids. You got a winner here, obviously KC versus Philadelphia, kind of changing it up a bit here, but thoughts on the Super Bowl? It's always a big event. Everyone always watches it. The other leagues pretty much shut down and that event takes over. But your thoughts on the Super Bowl this weekend?
Yeah, I'm not a big NFL guy. I just
never got into it with being in Dallas and all those other places, eh?
No, since the Cowboys got knocked out, they just disappoint us every year. But I would probably, if I had to pick one team, I would go with the Eagles.
Yeah.
I think a city like Philadelphia is, they're such a sports city, and not that Kansas City isn't, but no. I've always liked, the Eagles. They've always had a strong team. And if I had to pick one team and I was betting against someone, I would probably take the Eagles.
Yeah, for sure. Well, same here for sure. All right, man. Thanks. Enjoy tonight's festivities. I'm sure it'll be great, and all the best to you guys as 2023 gets going here again, and just in February. But and we're looking forward to seeing you guys when you guys get back here in Edmonton, and maybe do some live podcasts, maybe at a BP's or something like that.
Awesome.
I know we've talked about it before, but
that'd be great.
Figure something out for sure. So all the best to you and your family, Fids, man. Thanks again.
Thanks, Bosco.